Hello, hello. I see people are starting joining the events. 21, 25. Quite a lot of folks already. Hopefully gonna be more in a few minutes. But yeah, we definitely have some motion here. All right, we have 50 people already. That's quite a good number, and I anticipate even more joining us in a few minutes. So while you guys are joining us, as you can see, we have quite international team coming on here. And I guess it would be super interesting to learn where you folks are connecting from. So let us know in the chat your locations. I suppose that you're also quite around the world, but yeah, let us know. Okay, we have Turkey, North Carolina, Vienna, Germany, London, Belgium, Chicago, even Indonesia. Wow. And Philippines as well. Chile, Ukraine, Cambridge, Ohio. Well, I mean, the coverage is quite good, right? So I guess we have all time zones represented here and 78 people already attending the webinar. Amazing number. All right, I guess we're gonna start in a minute. Just wait for a little bit longer. And while people are still joining, yeah, I'm just gonna browse through whom we have here. Boston, Graz, New York City, Yerevan, Berlin. Awesome. All right, perfect. So with such a diverse audience, I guess the discussion gonna be quite interesting. We have like the entirety of the world looking at us today. And I guess we can start in a bit. Let me share my screen here to make sure that everyone can see my presentation. Okay. All right, so let me know in the chat, folks, if you can see my screen, if all good. Okay, let's see the people nodding. Awesome. All right, here. So I guess we can start. And thank you everyone for joining this event. I'm super excited to host the amazing people, the amazing experts from the app industry field. So today's topic, I would say it's quite integral towards the end of the year because it's been a big year for app marketing, and I'm pretty sure that everyone is excited for what's coming next. So the topic of this webinar is Top App Marketers Playbook for 2025. And my name is Vital. Let me just quickly introduce myself. I am account executive at SplitMetrics Agency, working with our strategic customers here and helping them to pick up right strategies for user acquisition, app store optimization, as well as creative production. But we have an incredible, amazing guest here from different parts of the world. So let me please introduce our first speaker here, Yekaterina Gamsregler, who is head of marketing at Mimo. And Yekaterina, the floor is yours. Would you be so kind to tell a few words about yourself?
Hey everyone, and yeah, thanks for the nice intro. Very happy to be here. I'm Ekaterina. I currently work at Mimo for the last 4 years, leading marketing, as said, and also a lot of different growth efforts, like on the product side. And I have more than a decade of experience covering different parts of the funnel, so to say. I started my career in search engine optimization, then continued to CRM, then to user acquisition for mobile apps, then pretty much to the rest of the marketing and also product management.
Awesome. Thank you, Katerina. We're excited to have you here. And moving to the next speaker, we have Sergey Rodriguez, who is Associate Director of ASA at Bumble. Sergey, a couple of words about yourself.
Thank you so much, Vital. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I think that that's an amazing opportunity to, be talking about ASO and what is expected for the following years. But yeah, I've been at Bumble for 5 years. My biggest role has been ASO across all the Bumbling portfolio and yeah, trying to grow our dating apps across the world, and making sure that everybody better understands our positioning or messaging through the ASO, which is yeah, as I said, my area of expertise. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and yeah, that's all.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Sergey. And last but not least, we have David Vargas, Senior User Acquisition Manager at SplitMetrics Agency, who recently was nominated and actually won User Acquisition Manager of the Year title at the App Growth App Promotion Summit, my partner at in Berlin. So congrats with that, David. Few words about yourself. We're excited to learn more about you.
Well, hi Vital, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. About the war, let's moving on. We should already look at 2025. Yeah, I'm the campaign guy, user acquisition manager at the SplitMetrics. Have experience with all kind of channels, basically every place where you can run a promotion app campaign. I've been running that already with a huge portfolio already after 5-6 years in the industry, more than 90 apps in my back. Yeah, super happy to be here and also looking forward to learning from these two very skilled professionals that I already follow on LinkedIn. So all good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, folks. So now as we're sort of get introduced to everyone's here, we obviously excited to check our agenda. And before we jump into that, just a quick note that this webinar, this event has been brought to you by SplitMetrics Agency. We're a full cycle mobile growth agency with more than 8 years of experience. So if you're looking to get help, to get assistance in organic growth, paid acquisition, or creative design, as well as the product optimization, we're here from you, experienced with working with such titles, with such brands as Wargaming, Viber, Nintendo, and more. And moving forward into the agenda, so we have quite a bit of topics to cover today. As I mentioned, 2024 was quite exciting year for app marketing, and we definitely want to understand what are the current trends, what are the insights, and what you can take as a learning and as a knowledge into the upcoming year. And the first question that I want to start with is probably also the most challenging one. It sounds like this. What's one key app growth lesson you're taking from 2024? I know it's extremely challenging to answer that, especially considering how complex user acquisition and ASO and monetization topics these days. But still, I'm pretty sure, folks, that you have a couple things to share with us. So, Ekaterina, maybe you can start with that. We're excited to learn from you.
Yeah, I think it's really not so easy to pick up one, but I can share two of my light bulb moments this year. I think the first one is about understanding why this super long onboardings like Noom, Headway, etc. doesn't matter like web to app or just in the app work. And I have to be honest, this moment happened a couple of months ago when there was a blog post that I was reading, I think, from the CEO of Funnel Fox, where he actually explained this reassurance and educating the users along the way, which is the reason why even if you ask, I don't know, 30, 40 super detailed and personal questions, it might still work because you're providing the value along the way and you give users the reassurance that they're in the right product, in the right app, and explain why you're also collecting this information. And we also tested similar approaches in our onboardings and saw also significant improvements in activation as well as trial start rates. So for me, this was also the nice learning when the theory matched the reality and the experiment actually worked out. So I think, yeah, one of the learnings is definitely that it's not about the number of taps, it's not about the number of screens, it's about how much value you deliver to the user along the way. And the second one, I would say, also happened quite recently when I started seeing also this synergy working, is about no matter how small the opportunity seems at the beginning and how small the results seem at the start, how much there can be of a snowball effect in the future. And here I'm talking about the featuring opportunities on Google Play, which started with just setting up regular in-app events, but then actually, like promotional content, but then actually being able to promote this content and get featured. And recently Apple implemented something very similar with their featuring nominations. And even though we were skeptical with investing effort into it at the beginning, now we can truly see the results of actually seeing our app featured more and more often on Google Play, for example. So if it's low effort, but questionable output, might be still worth a shot. This is my second learning.
Awesome. Thank you, Katerina. Great learnings. Totally agree on the value of onboarding and how it's implemented. And of course, featuring is something I guess every app marketer out there is striving for. So totally agree on that. David, perhaps you can comment on that as well. What are your key learnings from 2024?
Well, I have to also say two, not only one. It was pretty hard to only pick one. So from the UA side, I think this has been one of the most challenging, but also most interesting years since I started in the industry. And it's basically because of all the new probabilistic technologies that have been implemented by Meta and TikTok mostly. Basically because you can scale iOS apps in a level that was not possible last year. And this opens a whole new scenario where you really need to be picky with the data. You really need to challenge everything that you thought it was like working before. Now everything has changed, and for the next year, everything is going to change even more, in my opinion, because those technologies are still in beta, and this can really change the game for iOS apps. And the second is the boom of the AI tools, how they can help you to accelerate the user acquisition activity. Well, we have been seeing endless threads on LinkedIn about how this AI tool has helped me to produce 100 iterations in less than 10 seconds for $3. That's an exaggeration, right? But it's basically how it works. AI is helping us to accelerate our user acquisition efforts more than ever, and in the lowest price than ever. So yeah, those are the two main key learnings for me from 2024.
Awesome. Thank you, David. And it seems that we have seen exactly the same post today, because I kind of recognize the text that you just recalled about those AI generated videos that can be created in just a second. Awesome. Sergey, what's your take on that? From the ASO perspective, we're really curious to learn your perspective here.
Yeah, and thank you. And echoing the Katerina words, I think that one of the biggest lessons for this 2024 is that having great apps, I think that is no longer enough to stand out on the app stores. I think that personalization and localization are surging prominently. And if you see that how platforms are investing on especially on promotional content and in-app events, you are seeing how there is a very specific trend where they want you to create new content to keep people engaged, not only with your game and app, but also in the app store. So they want to make sure that you create new content to at least have a new reason to come back to the app stores and maybe interact and enjoy these new, let's say, new features that you're releasing, offers, etc., etc. So, and a good example of that is especially what Katerina was mentioning. Google and Apple are releasing new features like nominations, like win back offers, custom audiences. And I assume that in the following years, we're going to see like even more content or more features, more tools that will allow us to create these kind of new engagement experiences. So they are very focused on making sure that you have something to communicate. You are celebrating, again, a new offer. You're going to be doing a specific brand campaign on a country where you can provide a new experience to the user, or you are submitting offers in Google Play. You are exactly communicating that thing as well on the app stores, if that is that possible. So I just feel that these strategies not only enhance the stickiness, but also align with how the App Store now will evaluate apps. I'm pretty sure that Apple and Google, or at least especially this year where we have been Apple and Google updating the algorithm more than 9 times, especially in the US, they want you to make usage of that, because not only will work you for keyword indexing, but also again, there are some other metrics that will be helping you to escalate and also to improve your keyword visibility and your ranking. So yeah, again, even if you're a big app or a small app and you have a great product, just make sure that you can take advantage of these new levers from both app stores. I think that this is one of my biggest learnings this year.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Sergey. And well, I think that was pretty insightful. Let's probably move into the next topic. And the question is, what does the future of ASO and UA synergy look like in 2025? From my personal experience, it's pretty big topic these days. Like, everybody is trying to synchronize ASO and UA. But I think one of the challenges in this regard is like how exactly you should do that, in which aspects specifically these two areas of app marketing can be synchronized. So really curious to learn your takes on that. And David, maybe we can start with you this time. How do you see that from your personal experience? Where exactly ASO and UA should go hand in hand?
Well, from my side, before talking about my experiences with this topic, it's important to say that you have to take care of all the variables that are affecting to your ASO performance. That's the first thing. So keeping in mind that from my experience, and I have recently posted a few cases with my clients, one thing which is pretty clear is that your daily install volume really affects to your ASO performance and the possibilities that you have for ranking higher or lower. And I have like one of the most recent cases was like a couple of months ago. We had like a big gaming client, and we decided to test this idea of how the paid campaigns could like really increase the daily install volume and therefore the ASO rankings, organic rankings, organic and category rankings as well. And we decided to test a CPI campaign on a country which was not included in the business as usual campaigns. So basically, we were not promoting that country. Then we decided to go with an aggressive budget and a CPI campaign on that country to see if the category ranking could like jump thanks to that higher daily install volume, right? And it was like a big company. We had like high budget. I remember it was like 1,000 per day or something like that. And in just 5 days, we passed from top 60 in our category to top 3, only with a CPI campaign. So this is basically telling you that daily install volume is key if you really want to scale higher on your category ranking, and not only in your category ranking, but also in your keyword rankings. Because apart from seeing this jump on the category ranking, we also saw how the keywords that we were relevant for also scale the positions. So basically, the synergy is pretty clear, pretty obvious. Of course, as I said, you have to take care of all the rest, A/B testing, the featurings, all the variables that can really help you to increase the overall conversion rate, but you can't deny it. It's obvious. Paid campaigns is the best way to accelerate your daily install volume, and you really need to run them if you really want to scale your organic performance.
Awesome. Well, I should say the jump from top 60 into top 3 is really impressive. So the message to the audience, take notes here, because I think this is really valuable insights. that we're having here. Awesome. Sergey, Ekaterina, curious to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, and especially continuing with what I already mentioned about personalization and localization. I just feel that ASO and UA will, at least UA will get beneficial of integrating ASO optimized visuals and messaging that we have been testing on the ASO side. On UA, I think they can provide a lot of value, but vice versa as well. So I suggest that if we can, or if you have the possibility to test like UGC content, that you can take advantage on ASO, for instance, creating videos or creating screenshots based on real experiences that people is having by using your app and game, usually creates this connection between your product messaging and your audience. So yeah, I think that that's important. Then when you try to communicate something with your audience or with your biggest user target, depending on the country, it's important to better understand first how is your audience in that specific territory. So UGC will be probably that ASO can take advantage, and from the UA side, I think that again integrating ASO optimized graphic assets and messaging could be a really good advantage. And again, as I already mentioned, the personalization is a very strong, I think that lever that you should take into account as well. So taking advantage of custom store listings, CPPs as well on the App Store, I think that can give you a boost, but always taking into account the consumer first. You need to better understand what they want, what features are more used, what they like when you are playing your game, and try to prominently highlight these specific features or part of the game in from your product.
Well, amazing. Thank you, Sergey. And yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how important personalization in from your experience is. So that's definitely app marketers should be taking into consideration. Ekaterina, perhaps, do you have any thoughts on that from your side, from your experience?
Yeah, a couple, maybe a bit to add to what David covered when it comes to the organic uplift that we can expect from using, like, increasing our spend. I think it's great that David is sharing a lot of it on LinkedIn, which I think is awesome. And it's great that we start looking into these relationships, also this year. And however, I would say that it's also not always not always so clear cut, and really depends on the amount of paid traffic that you're getting to your apps. Because, for example, at Mimo, we have a huge amount of organic traffic coming through, like roughly 80% of our users come organically. So I also see that we need to boost our paid advertising spend very significantly, like by roughly 40 or 50%, before we see any super positive impact on organic rankings or category rankings. So depending on the market, depending on the platform, just not every dollar not every dollar is the same, more or less. So I think what's important for 2025 is to obviously monitor these relationships and to calculate your organic coefficient, depending on the platform, because it can vary between iOS and Android. And yeah, what I also see helpful is to really have the question like, has your advertising spend changed, as one of the first questions in the decision tree, so to say, when an ASO manager, for example, sees an increase or a decrease in the organic traffic and start investigating. Obviously, the first most obvious reason might be some changes to metadata or visuals, etc. But advertising spend is definitely also somewhere at the very top as well to watch out for. And maybe from something that has not been mentioned yet, I would say that it's where I also saw a lot of synergy so far, at least in my team, is when the custom product pages and custom store listings were they are evolving. Currently, it's possible, for example, to create custom store listings for organic searches as well, like on Google Play. And obviously, the expertise that we have with custom product pages and all the learnings we have had over the years, like from the paid campaigns and this CPP connection, can be applied to custom store listings for organic search, which is mostly impacting App Store optimization. So I think, yeah, there is obviously no way around paid user acquisition and organic acquisition not working together.
Awesome. Thank you, Katerina. That was super, super helpful. And I guess we can move forward to the next question then. But in the meantime, if you folks have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat and we will address them in the end of this webinar. But moving forward, the next topic, this one is an interesting one. So we're seeing that Meta and Google are still like probably the biggest channels out there, and they're competing in a certain sense too. But there are other channels emerging as well. We're seeing like TikTok getting more popularity. We have Apple search ads, we have ad networks, and obviously the big question, what you should look into in the upcoming year. Like, what are the channels that can really work for you, or what are the channels that maybe you should avoid? So curious to hear your thoughts on that. David, maybe we can start with you on this one.
Sure. I mean, I already mentioned this before in the first question, but basically, for me, one of the game changers of this year is the probabilistic methodologies that Meta and TikTok are implementing in a very effective way. But if I have to take an overall winner, this year is TikTok. And not only because of the great performances that I saw across different app categories with my clients, but also because all the new functionalities and features that are introducing almost every week. We have the advanced dedicated campaign, which is the modeling technology, still in beta, but it's going to be like a big thing next year, I believe. We have the new Smart Plus campaigns that are also changing the functioning in the backend. And from my experience, they are working much better now than 2 months ago. We also have new tools to create new videos from scratch, just using templates from trends, which is very useful for those companies that don't have enough resources or money to generate new creatives. We have new optimization goals coming, and the highlight for me is TikTok One, which is the new platform where you can manage all your influencer campaigns in one single place. It's very easy to manage either pure influencer campaigns or videos for your paid campaigns on TikTok ads. You can manage both from the same place. And for those small companies, small publishers, if you are struggling with the creative production, you can sign up now in TikTok One and get like up to 10 UGC videos made by UGC creators. So they are really good quality for that platform for free, even when you spend, I think it's less than 2K per month, which is nothing. It's like the very minimum you need to invest if you really want to go somewhere with your app. So for me, that's the main alternative to these two channels, but also there are other options. DSPs like Uploading, they are also like getting a huge piece of the market, mostly on gaming, but they're gradually opening to other app categories. And then I would say maybe Moloko, Liftoff will be the top 2, top 3. But yeah, the overall winner for me, at least from my experience, is TikTok by very far. And the new interface, by the way, which was launched like 2 weeks ago, something like that, is also a great change. So yeah, well done, TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you, David. So I guess we should all be keeping an eye on TikTok and, the new features that they're going to be bringing in the upcoming months. Ekaterina, curious to hear your take on that. What's working for you folks? What's your prioritizing at this moment?
Yeah, we're pretty much using the biggest channels so far, which is Meta, Google Ads, like Google USC, Apple Search Ads. And I also wanted to do +1 like to TikTok. because it took us multiple iterations and like a lot of different experiments. But I feel like in 2024, we actually managed to also make it work. And the big help in here was the TikTok's creative challenge, because the ad fatigue has always been the issue, right? Like producing the creatives, which should be ideally different from your meta creatives, and this would usually require a lot of effort. Even though we also use AI for producing creatives, and I can share about it a bit more about it later. I would say that TikTok's creative challenge was really a lifesaver for us, because it helps to avoid ad fatigue, and it also really helps to, I would say, unlock creativity. The videos that the creators come up with for us are very different, and I would say very out of the box compared to even our regular UGC concepts. And another thing that worked for us, but it's definitely not for every app vertical, is Reddit. These days, Google values user-generated content, and Reddit is pretty much based on it. So I see or would expect a lot of traffic coming to Reddit overall, like in the next months and years. And yeah, I would say if you believe that your users are there, and I think it might work especially well for the education app category, I would also recommend that.
Awesome. Thank you, Katerina. Well, that was quite insightful. I know that we have just a little bit of time with this question. Sergey, from the ASA perspective, I'm curious, do you see any interconnections here, anything that sort of impacts your area of work?
Yeah, honestly, it's not my area of expertise, but yeah, I think that especially what Ekaterina mentioned with TikTok and Reddit, when you can you can targeting younger audiences and for highly engaged audiences. I just feel that for localized campaigns, it makes sense to find niche platforms. I just read a bunch of information and posts in regards how some apps and games can find value by using Line in Japan or ShareChat in India. So I think that makes sense to explore these niche ad platforms. But again, it's not my really area expertise. I just feel that doing a proper research and start testing it is probably the best approach and the best thing that you can start doing today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sergey. So the next question here, another interesting one. So web to app campaigns. I mean, the topic has been here for a while. I personally see quite diverse opinions on that. For some apps, it's working incredibly well. In certain cases, it becomes almost the main channel of app marketing, while for others, it's completely unapplicable and they're sticking to something very different. David, what's your take on that from your experience of working with web to app funnels? And I know that you do that quite a bit. How do you see this channel working? When and where it can be applied for the most success?
Well, I'll be straight here with my opinion, okay? So from my experience, you have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, you are selling an app, not a web service or a web tool, right? So if your app is not able to retain your paying users, it doesn't matter how good you are in your web flow, it doesn't matter how cheap you get the purchases, it won't work. So the first thing you need to be sure is that your app is good enough and it is serving a solution for the problem that your users have. If you are not able to achieve that, then you need to work in the product. And in that case, Ekaterina is the expert here. I've seen like many companies testing web to app, right? And I see that this is like very trendy on categories like learning, fitness, productivity apps. This is like a huge topic because they are relying on the marketing strategy to get the most valuable event, which is the purchase or the subscription in most of the cases, right? So you don't rely on the product, you rely on the marketing strategy, the marketing ideas, and how good you are building that web flow to achieve that purchase event, right? But in my experience, all the cases that I saw of successful web-to-app flows were in companies that already were making money on the app side. So for me, web-to-app is a good way of generating an additional revenue source on top of what you have built on the app, but never the opposite. Like, okay, my app is not working well. I'm gonna build a web-to-app to see if I can monetize that. It's not gonna work because at the end of the day, your users need to use your app. So for me, every time that I got the question, the magic question, hey, should we test web-to-app? Well, are you profitable in the app side? If yes, then yes, let's try. If not, let's build a good product, or let's like see what's failing, where your users are dropping off, and then we test web-to-app. Never like a primary thing, always as an additional thing on top.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I totally agree, and I think the bottom line and kind of like the big trust is that it's so much comes to the product every time. Like the channels, the approach to creative strategy, but kind of like what we're seeing, that the product itself drives so much the results that you have, that you have to be really smart about picking and investing into certain channels before you make sure that the product works as it's supposed to work. Awesome.
Yeah, and sorry, one more thing, Vital. The thing
Sure.
is, the main advantage, as I said, is that you rely on the marketing side, right?
Right.
And you avoid also scan limitations with web campaigns, right? So
Yeah.
you can launch campaigns that are producing real-time purchases, which helps algorithms to optimize the performance.
Exactly. Yeah.
But as I said, you may get 20% less CPA on that first purchase because you are like a beast on that marketing flow, and then you have the best conversion rate ever, and you can really leverage the cost. But then you have to redirect the users to the app. At some point, they will use your app, and if the app is not serving the solution that they are expecting, then it's just one purchase, which in most of the cases is not profitable because the paying user is not retaining, is not sticking to your app.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the end, the product is key. And if you don't have a good product, web to app, in my experience, doesn't work.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Well, just to be considerate of time, we still have two questions left. And I would say two of the most interesting, exciting questions where we definitely want to hear input from all the speakers. So let's probably move into that and the creative topic. The creative topic is bottomless, I would say. I mean, like we're seeing so diverse strategies for every single app. Some things may be working just perfect for one app, but can be completely unapplicable for a different one. So we're really curious to learn what should be the approach an app marketing professional should be considering when it comes to creative strategy. And kind of one of the questions that we're hearing quite a lot these days is about static images. Are they still effective? Like, are people still using it? Given the fact that there are UGC content, AI generated content, you have such diversity into how approaching that, but should we still stick to the static creatives? Ekaterina, what would be your take on that?
Static images for me is a yes, in terms of obviously tested experiment with different formats for different placements. But for us, they tend to perform quite good in the feed, for the feed. And I think what it hugely depends on is how well you managed to nail the slogan and the image and actually showcase your main value proposition in this one static image. I do see the benefit of static images in a way that users have to look at it once and they instantly understand what it's about. They don't even have to spend, I don't know, 3 or 5 seconds, like with videos, trying to figure out what it's all about and what you actually want from them. So it's very clear, everything's clear at one glance. The question is, how well do you manage to show your value proposition to make it super attractive for the audience, right? So for me, it's really not about static or UGC or in-house produced super polished videos. It's about making sure that it's appealing to users and you've done it and it resonates. And obviously, aesthetic image can resonate as well. And regarding the creative strategies, what I think is becoming critical to address in 2024 and 2025 is, like for me at least, is the way how data and creativity work together. Because I think there are a lot of companies where the brand team is ruling out a lot of things, saying, okay, it's not on brand, we cannot do that, we cannot run this creative. There are other companies where the user acquisition team and the performance marketing manager is in charge of what ads are being shown, because they're ultimately responsible for the result. And then they can come up with whatever crazy sum-stopping thing with a high hook rate, even if it's completely off brand, right? So these days, especially with AI and with, I think different approaches are evolving. And for me, I believe also for the next year, the best way to unlock performance with paid advertising is to really make sure that you're looking at both, that you have data and good approach to experimentation, which means past performance of your ads, analyzing the hooks, maybe using the creative modularization and analyzing how different elements of the ad tend to perform, like what kind of patterns you see. And it's also experimenting fast, sometimes using AI to get insights. And on the other hand, you should also make sure that you still have your special brand being like to showcase in ads. You're using the talent that you have, like the creativity in your team. You get insights from user interviews and reviews, and you really try to come up with really nice storytelling in-house ads that can also resonate with users and address like their main barriers and motivations. So for me, yeah, it's not about either or, like let's only use Midjourney and rely purely on data and keep experimenting whatever it takes us. It's also about making sure that there is our brand voice that is still visible through that.
That's a very good take. I love it. Sergey, what's your opinion here? I anticipate that they're going to be part about personalization, but let's see what you have in mind.
Yeah, and especially if we move these questions to the ASO side and the graphic assets that we use, which is essentially screenshots, icons, videos, all this kind of good stuff. I think that a key innovation lies in contextualizing A/B testing. So essentially, I think that we should be able to. So static images will be always very helpful to not only to explain your ad, but also to use them as a space to create this emotional context where you can start creating this connection between you and your audience. So showcasing an app's functionality in the real world situations, using static images, but also the videos, probably is one of my biggest recommendations. And it doesn't matter if you are a game or you are a big or a small app. I think that people want to use real cases where they will be using your app and game. So take into account this kind of emotional context rather than simply testing variations or wording without having a proper hypothesis. And as I already mentioned at the very beginning, this year for me, personalization and localization are very important. So we all know that one of the biggest best practices that we have on it in the ASO side is making sure that our graphic assets are properly localized, not only in the country that we are releasing these screenshots or videos, but also taking into account these cultural preferences that our audience have in these territories. So when we create static and UGC or videos where we are promoting or we are emphasizing more the brand or the product, I think that we need to make sure to incorporate these elements if we want to give more support to the emotional context that I already mentioned for static images and videos. So I think that it's fun because it already have a connection between what is expected for next year and what we learned this year, that how important is not only for us, but also for the app stores to make sure that your app is properly localized. You are connecting with the people, you're creating this emotional connection with your audience by using the static and motion assets that you have these capabilities on the app store. So probably these are my biggest ideas or recommendations that I will be implementing, or I recommend to be implementing, because it's a very powerful level where you can take advantage to improve your conversion rates and to improve your visibility on the app stores.
Nice. Thank you, Sergey. David, what's your thought on that? What's have been working for you so far this year, and what would you recommend for the next one?
Well, I agree with Sergi and Katerina. You have to use both, and it's pretty obvious when you, for example, run a campaign in Meta and you separate banners or videos in different ad groups. You will clearly see that depending on the ad type, you can target one audience segment or another. And depending on your audience segment, you have to create your strategy for the creative production, right? I always try to combine both. Although if you mix all of them in an ad group, you will see how most of the times the videos will get most of the spend. That's why I normally recommend having separated ad groups for that. If you have the money, of course, for that. If you have the budget, right? What I can see, what I can say here is that right now in the UA side, algorithms really detect winners very quick. Like in just 1 day, 2 days maximum, you can see if that new creative that you are testing, if it's a video or it's a static image, you can see if it's going to be a winner, or at least if the creative has the potential to be a winner. And it's very easy to check that because the metrics are so different than the average. When I have a winner, normally I have like a separated campaign for that. And when I see a winner, CPI is 30% better, hook rate is 20% better, hold rate is also better, conversion from install to purchase or install to subscription is also much better. And the algorithms really detect that in less than 48 hours. So my recommendation here is that if you have the resources to have a separated campaign to test new creatives and you detect those outperforming creatives, you need to iterate them as fast as possible with different hooks, different music, creators, whatever that you believe that can work for your audience. And then that's the way to accelerate your user acquisition activity without committing to higher spends. You are just leveraging the performance by finding new outperforming creatives. And as I said, you don't need much time, you don't need much money, you just need to be persistent. And yeah, last but not least, I would say there are some channels like TikTok where the ad static images are not that popular, but they are also working on implementing those options. Actually, TikTok recently launched like a carousel image that is also working very well. It creates like a fake video with all the ads that you upload, but it still looks like a video. So if you are good enough to create like an history with those carousels, and then it's like a animated banner that tells an history to the user and can really work well, depending on the category, depending on the app, depending on the creativity. But it really works. It doesn't make sense to discard the static images and just focusing on UGC videos, for example. You have to use all of them.
Well, you've heard it, folks. Static images are still very much working, so do not overlook that. And fast forward, we're moving into our last topic for today. Although, well, it's quite big to cover in just a few minutes, but we'll try to do our best. The AI. So I know that it's a buzzword that we're hearing in pretty much every corner these days. We're seeing how AI just like integrated already into our daily lives. But what about app marketing? So folks, how has AI transformed app marketing in 2024? And what trends should marketers be prepared for in 2025? Sergey, let's start with your.
Yeah, I think that that's a really fun question, I would say. The AI, in my opinion, is helping you to automatize not only repetitive tasks, but also to get insights. So it's true that at the end of the day, the AI is prepared to give you the answer that will satisfy you. But if we just think about all the things that we can do with the AI, for instance, you can do keyword research. AI can also provide some sort of estimations about volumes, difficulty to rank, etc., etc. But if we think about the power of connecting AI with, let's say, Excel or spreadsheets or this kind of powerful tools that can allow you to combine your keyword research, build prompts that essentially build for you your copy, get insights from screenshots, not only from your screenshots, but also from your competitors. The AI can provide you a bunch of insights if you can do a proper implementation, but take it into account from at least from an ASO point of view, the copy and graphic assets that or the assets that we have on the app stores. Examples, and as I already mentioned, you can build, especially for, and it doesn't matter if you have a small or big team, you can already take advantage of that anyway. So you can build proposals based on the ASO best practice and Google Play and the App Store best practice. You can have titles, short descriptions you can take into account as well, or the AI will take into account as well the keyword density that you want to include on them. You can also take insights about trends that you are seeing across your competitors by just simply uploading the screenshots to the AI, and just at the end of the day, the value in here is building a proper prompt that essentially gives to you this value. So I'm not saying that you should be doing like a prompting course, but it's important to better understand the fundamentals of the AI, because it's when you can already start taking advantage of the AI. So it's not only for, let's say, automatizing repetitive tasks, but also the amount of value that you can get in terms of insights and in terms of building or crafting a copy for you. It's very powerful. I assume that at some point we're going to start seeing even automatizations on Google Play and the App Store to essentially provide you better predictive analytics for your apps and games. So I'm just waiting to see how this will be impacting from the analysis side to our consoles. And probably at some point, I assume that, well, we can already see on Google Play where you can already create the descriptions with the Gemini. But yeah, I assume that at some point they will start incorporating more and more the AI, not only for building your metadata, but also to analyze the metadata. So we'll see what happens in the following years. I think that's a really interesting topic.
Totally agree. Very interesting and exciting. And yeah, definitely we look forward to learn how it's going to develop. David, how you're currently using that? You already mentioned some of the things with the optimizations that TikTok and Meta are offering when it comes to AI capabilities. Is there anything apart from that or on top of that that you're currently utilizing in your day-to-day work?
I mean, AI, it's an endless topic, right? I mean, every day we see 10 new tools to help you to boost your performance. You shouldn't get mad with the AI tools. You shouldn't use more than 2 or 3, in my opinion. Otherwise, you are spending more time on using AI tools than on doing real work. But according to my experience, the field where AI has advanced the most in my profession, like in my role in the UI side, is creative production, because it is true. Creating videos is cheaper than ever. Like you have just to pay like, I don't know, $10 for a variation. You can use AI avatars for the videos for $50 a month. So it's cheaper than ever to create videos. It's cheaper than ever to create new copies, new ideas for your videos, new hooks. You can leverage ChatGPT, and the ideas that you can get from there are just like endless. You can have a whole team of 50 people working only with the ideas that ChatGPT gives to you. Also with analytics, there are now tools that are like gathering all the data from all ad channels and then showing like a very cool interface where you can see what elements were the reason of your performance. But right now, I mostly rely on AI for the creative production because it's the task that takes more time. It also involves like few people. It's not only me, it's also the graphic designer, it's also the video editor. And thanks to AI, we can like really speed up the process. So yeah, that's for me the main thing. But as I said, don't get mad with that because there is real work to do. And yeah, I hope that in the future, AI doesn't replace me. Sometimes I believe that we'll reach a point where it's just about clicking a button and then everything goes automatically. But in any case, creativity is still needed, and AI is not that good on that. So yeah, still big room for us.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Ekaterina, how you see AI usage in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, to be honest, we have many applications of AI in the team because, again, we are making coding accessible and we use it a lot, implement it a lot in our product as well as outside of it. For now, just like David, I might regret this answer in a couple of years, but for now, I feel like this helps to empower small teams a lot and to fill in some gaps like in the skills. For example, if you are not extremely good at data analysis or need a certain formula or I don't know, preparing a script for a user interview, this is something that you can use to still improve that skill. And also similarly to David, the biggest, I would say, wins for us from using AI were in decreasing the costs for creative production as well. Not only decreasing the costs, but also speeding up the whole testing process. Like we managed to not only decrease the costs by roughly 90% when we started using tools with AI avatars, but most importantly, within 1 month, we managed to test usually 3 times more batches of creatives compared to before. Because previously our cycle would look like 1 week for briefing, then 2 weeks for the production feedback, and then 1 week for testing. And these days, within 7 to 10 days, we can go through the whole cycle. So we have maybe not necessarily more winners within one batch, but we have definitely way more learnings within the same period of time, like 4 times more learnings. So yeah, for me, using it for creative production is really unlocking a lot of possibilities, testing the hooks quickly. And I also, for example, have clients who might be focusing predominantly on the male audience, and not always they might be enough male creators to reach out to get the UGC content. And also this AI avatars also, like they really help you unlock this and solve this bottleneck. And for ASO, we use this as well for sometimes for research, but also for replying to reviews faster and better. So there are some automations there that also make sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Katerina. That was super insightful. And we're just right on time towards the end of this webinar. So yeah, first of all, I want to say big thank you for coming to us today and sharing these insights. I think the answers were really, really practical, and hopefully people will just take that and go try implementing this in their apps. And I know that we're short in time, but we have quite a bit of questions in the chat. The way I suppose to handle that is we will share the questions, we'll share the answers to the questions after the webinar in a separate email along with the recordings. So stay tuned for that, folks. But maybe we can still take a couple more questions because I see that some of them are very specific and hopefully we'll be sure to answer. And so the first 2 questions, they're quite similar, I think, on the same topic. They come to Sergey, actually. So the first one sounds like that. Sergey, any advice on effective ways to finding UGC creators? I know there are platforms for that, but maybe you can share any tips here. And sort of like the related question, can you dive deeper on how to use UGC on ASO, Sergey?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of platforms, unfortunately, I won't be able to mention any specific. This is part of, or well, this is not part of my direct responsibilities at Bumble. We have a creative studio that essentially work with influencers. So unfortunately, I cannot give you the specifics of platforms that you can access. Probably I can work on you. You can send me an email with that question. Maybe I can help you to identify which platform could be good. I assume that how big is your app and game or your corporation will be affecting with the platforms that you can already create these contracts or not. But yeah, just I'm more than happy to help you. And in terms of the how you can apply these UGC contents, again, I'm going to be speaking about from an ASO point of view. So think about the fact of how you can create this connection with users when they are seeing your listing. The first thing that they're going to see is the icon screenshots. But if you create like a video, an app review, where you can using this specific content, people is interacting with your app or your game, and they can comment the good things about using it, or the good things that you have that maybe your competitors doesn't have in a UGC content. I think that will be a good usage. So that will be my recommendation. So yeah, probably this is probably one of the biggest examples that I have of using UGC on the ASO side.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergey. Just another quick question, probably to David. Are there any programmatic DSP platforms you see good performance on? I think you mentioned a couple of those already, but any picks that you can recall?
Yeah, it really depends on the app category. But I would say after uploading, I will go with, if you're with gaming, Liftoff is a good channel. Moloko can really be helpful for non-gaming apps. Then you have Integral, which also perform well, depending on the app category again. And then let me think, but I think those 3, 4 are the ones that I use the most. Moloko, Integral, Uplovin. Unity would be the last one, because what I don't like from Unity is that before running like the campaigns you want, you really need to spend on useless campaigns, like CPI campaigns that bring really bad quality. So that's something I don't like at all. And that's why I always delay the launch on Unity ads. I always prefer starting with the others.
Gotcha. Thank you, David. And the last question for today, this one is interesting one, and probably also goes to Sergey. Do you have good experience with keyword mining with ChatGPT? Most recommendations I got were more relevant for web search behavior than for app.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, thank you for that question. So honestly, let's see how I can phrase that. So essentially one day I tried to, build metadata thinking that I'm not access to my ASO platform. So I'm going to try to build proposals for apps or games that I was helping at some point by just using AI, right? So I've been just simply comparing the information that I can get from ASO tools and the AI tools. The truth is that while some of the the way how ChatGPT will be providing you this information is very based on how good are you with your prompt. I can say that the keywords or the suggestion that I get from the AI tools was very accurate in terms of volumes of that these keywords had. I will not say that you will be able to incorporate more custom KPIs that maybe other ASO tools and platform can provide to you. But in terms of, let's say, volumes or maybe difficulty or how difficult will be for general apps or games to rank for these specific search terms, it maybe be similar. If we're taking into account, let's say, other kind of KPIs, like it could be your conversion rate, for instance, I don't think that ChatGPT will going to be able to provide you a good or a more accurate information compared to the ASO tool. So in my experience, and I would say that they can provide you a good list of keywords. You can benchmark the information with even free tools that are on the market. That again, I'm more than happy to provide you these tools as well. That obviously the amount of keywords are very limited, but if you want to do a good or a first benchmark, it could be interesting. But again, in my experience, I think that it's a good starting point. And probably if you ask me about the quality of the results, I would say that it's maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10, something like that. So yeah, probably not the best tool, but still it could be helpful.
Awesome.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah, totally agree. That was an interesting one. Well, thank you, folks. I guess we're on time and a little bit over time. So I want to thank everyone who joined this webinar. I want to thank our speakers. To the audience who is still here, make sure to follow David, Sergey, and Ekaterina on LinkedIn and social media. I'm sure that you'll find a lot of insights from their posts and experience that they're sharing. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the next events. Make sure to follow SplitMetrics on social media as well, as we're announcing quite a bit of events in the coming months and weeks. So yeah, thank you, everyone. See you and have a great holidays ahead, I suppose.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.